Hi, my name is Vicky Ramsey and I've been studying physics since 2006. This is episode 3 of my E&A video series. In episode 1, I talked about general relativity in relation to the calibration of atomic clocks. I talked in detail about how, if I am right about an atomic clock requiring more energy in order to tick faster, general relativity would have to be amended to state that clocks tick faster higher up within a gravity potential and clocks tick faster in the greater gravitational field. In episode 2, I talked about how this alteration to the theory of general relativity would not require any changes to the general relativity equations, and how only 6 operations of modification provides an alternative to the current interpretation of the general relativity mathematics. I talked about how, in the 1920s, Hubble's observation of the redshift distance correlation became the catalyst for the Big Bang theory. And I further hinted as to the fact of this subtle alteration to Einstein's general relativity resulting in major changes to the outlook on cosmology. I want to talk here about this modification of general relativity in relation to the cosmological model. So, to give a bit of background, the Big Bang theory is the prevailing cosmological model, explaining the existence of the observable universe from its earliest periods through its subsequent large-scale evolutions. The model describes how the universe expanded from an initial state of high density and temperature, and offers a comprehensive explanation for a broad range of observed phenomena. Most significantly, the observation that the further a light source is from our solar system, the greater the observed redshift. But to say so, the Big Bang theory is not the only cosmological model to have been proposed. Alternative models such as the steady-state theory, the electric universe or plasma cosmology as it is otherwise known, the black hole origin theory, the simulation hypothesis, the bounce cosmologies or cyclic universe theories have also been put forward. Okay, so the steady-state theory was ruled out by its own predictions. And the electric universe / plasma cosmology has never been accepted as a proper theory due to its lack of predictive powers. Similarly, the black hole origin theory, although still initiating some interest at Perimeter Institute, remains outside of the realms of proof or falsifiability. And, in that research into the simulation hypothesis has found that the theory would require a computer larger than the entire universe, this model is thought to be, unlikely. This leaves the bounce cosmologies and cyclic universe theories, some of which still remain viable as propositions that theoretical physicists are working on as alternatives to the Big Bang. What I wish to discuss here is how, without changing the general relativity equations, the 6 operations of modification to the current interpretation of general relativity that I outlined in episode 2 can redefine the redshift observations, resulting in an alternative cosmological model. I have included a link to my article giving fully described details of these 6 operations of modification in the video notes, but to recap: 1. Add to general relativity the axiom plus energy equals shorter seconds. 2. State the energy density in space to be anisotropic and reducing in density with distance from the gravitational mass. 3. State clocks as ticking faster higher up within a gravity potential and as ticking faster in the greater gravitational field. Think bigger galaxy cluster here. 4. Add to general relativity the axiom shorter seconds for mass equals plus electromagnetism, where plus electromagnetism for a mass little m with increasing distance from the gravitational mass big M creates more attraction / momentum tending towards the gravitational mass big M. 5. State a separate, i.e. additional, hidden time dimension for where m equals 0, i.e. open space. 6. Add to general relativity the axiom the speed of light cannot exceed the local rate of time. So, by considering that mass and space both have their own time dimensions, inherent with time dilation properties that occur separately from each other but concurrently to each other, and that the gravitational fields of space between bodies of mass have energy, which is anisotropic and proportional to the inverse square law with distance from the gravitational mass, by adding the axioms plus energy equals shorter seconds and shorter seconds for mass equals plus electromagnetism, this results in cause and effect mechanics describing how gravity does what gravity does. However, by adding the axiom plus energy equals shorter seconds as per the regime I've outlined, not only do clocks tick faster higher up within the gravity potential, as observed by experiment, but it must also be true that clocks tick faster in the greater gravitational field, where the latter statement means that the universe cannot be expanding and must, under the remit of these axioms, be contracting. And that's okay, because general relativity can just as easily describe a contracting universe as it describes an expanding universe. One doesn't even need to change the equations. There is, however, the factor of the observation of Hubble's redshift distance correlation to contend with, where the current interpretation of this observation is that cosmological redshifts are Doppler shifts of light caused by stars receding away from us due to the Big Bang explosion. Okay, so by adding the axiom, the speed of light cannot exceed the local rate of time, and considering that the rates of time for the time dimension of space get slower with distance from the gravitational mass, this can describe the cosmological observations of the shifting of light as being, for the greater part, due to the time dilation within the time dimension that I have added for the spaces, i.e. space, between bodies of mass, where, for reasons that I will fully explain in episode 4, only around 8 or so % of the cosmological redshift is due to Doppler shift, and the rest is due to the time dilation effects of this hidden time dimension that I have proposed as being inherent to space itself. This now affords a viable means of dispensing with the interpretation of the redshift distance correlation as being proof of the universe having expanded from an explosion. We can now say that because gravity is causing the components of galaxies and galaxy clusters to converge upon each other, this is what is causing the distances between galaxy clusters to be increased. And the observed anomalies between the different types of measurements of the Hubble constant, a feature that is known within the field as the Hubble tension, can then be utilized as empirical data in support of this novel contracting universe hypothesis. So, how does this contracting universe work? I will dedicate the entirety of episode 5 to a full description, but in brief. Let the universe contract at an acceleration equal to that of the dark energy observation. All the mass and the energy of the universe is then destined to converge into black holes that will eventually merge into a singular massive black hole with all of the universe's matter and energy inside. Due to having no balancing gravitational counterpart, this singular black hole, comprised of all the universe's mass and energy, will immediately transform into a white hole, exploding all of its content via superluminal jets, and will consequently empty itself out of existence, causing what can be thought of as an alternative type of inflation period that results in an almost uniform sea of particles and energy. It is this almost uniform sea of particles and energy that are this model's initial conditions for an extremely slow contraction process that proceeds at a snail's pace acceleration, during which the universe develops from an almost uniform sea of particles and energy into the clumped complexity of galaxies and galaxy clusters that we observe today, where this process will repeat itself over and over again as per a cyclic cosmology. I will be dedicating episode 5 of my ENA video series to a full description of the details regarding this proposed type of cyclic contracting bounce cosmology. Where in episode 4 I will be furthering the details of this alternative outlook on the redshift distance correlation that I have proposed, and describing how and why this alternative outlook can give explanation for the observed 5 sigma Hubble tension. Meanwhile, I have left relevant links in the video notes pertaining to all of the aspects that I have discussed today. Thanks for watching.